nullifying the protest law and ruining it when the country had to protect these laws from being broken. In a press conference at the police academy on Wednesday, Al-Biblawi said that everyone realized that they had been passing through a very important phase since June 30th. He added that the cabinet was achieving the goals of the transitional roadmap at a steady pace. He added that the law was issued to organize the right to protest. He also said that the government resorted to civil dialogue and the State Council's opinion, and that the government had also considered similar laws across the world. Police dispersed dozens of protesters who demonstrated on Tuesday before the Shura Council against military trials for civilians. 20 protesters were arrested. A cabinet statement earlier said that Al-Biblawi will form a committee to reconsider aspects of the newly issued law. Al-Biblawi and Minister of Social Solidarity Ahmed al-Bur'i met with representatives of the National Salvation Front and youth representatives, and the statement said that the Prime Minister promised to follow up with the Prosecutor General concerning the detainees who were arrested after the Shura Council incidents. The protest law had been heavily criticized by many political parties after it had been drafted and following its ratification by interim President Adli Mansour. The legislation stipulates that protests, marches, and public meetings require a 3-day period to be approved by the Ministry of Interior. Articles in the protest law also allow security forces to use water cannons, batons, and tear gas to disperse protesters, as well as escalatory measures that would include the use of rubber bullets and metal pellets. The Egyptian Organization for Human Rights on Wednesday expressed its deep concern over the issuance of the law despite the reluctance of political and rights forces of the bill, and called on the interim government to amend the controversial law in keeping it with the international standards.
Welcome back once again, and we're discussing the main headline, which is the protest law. Always have a pleasure to welcome Engineer Ahmed Al-Arab, the Vice President of Al-Wafd Party. Thank you very much for joining us.
Lawyer.
Okay. Mohamed Farid, the member of the Higher Committee of the Free Egyptians Party. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, starting, Mr. Ahmed, by the protest law that has been actually stirring some controversial debate even before it was ratified. Why all this fuss about the law that comes timely to regulate the protests and the right of protesting in the country?
Because it's part of the whole plot to topple this country. They failed to topple the country when the Muslim Brotherhood in 1 year damaged the country to that extent. And then all of a sudden, the design that America and the West have been working on since the 80s have been exposed and dropped forever by the Egyptians on the 30th of June. Of course, they lost their wits. They have paid billions of dollars. They have recruited thousands of agents. They have mobilized the Brotherhood to destroy this area. And they almost succeeded. In 1 year, Mohamed Morsi Ikhwanized 1/3 of the Egyptian top jobs. In 1 year. And in 1 year, he made sure to try to alienate and destroy the judiciary, the police, and the information. When it falls, those guardians of the plot, don't expect them to be nice, but tell the guardians of the plot what Mr. David Cameron said in the British Commons. When they asked him that the police was brutal with some demonstrations in London. He said, when it comes to British security, the hell with human rights. We tell them, just go to hell and look at your own laws. Clean your own backyard. The demonstration laws in America are far crueler than you can imagine. What you call the Patriot Act. You can be arrested without charge. You can be put in jail without charge. And of course, we all know about the Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib and all the American torture centers. and all the people killed by drone planes without pilots, infringing upon the airspace of other countries without permission.
Right. As Mr. Aziz Al-Arab is like mentioning and a referral to other protest laws around the world, Mr. Farid, what similarities does our protest law have with other protest laws around the world?
Well, actually, I am not a lawyer to tell you a comparative study about what in common between our law and other laws, but what can I tell you that
The standards, at least, should be the same.
I mean the standards. The current law is not the best law we can get in the current time. First of all, there is some problems with some particular articles. For example, the general meeting definition is very wide. If, for example, it can be abused, if Mr. Ahmed or me in our parties, if we are having a general meeting, that would be considered that would be considered as a general meeting in the law. So we need to get a permission 3 days prior to having a usual meeting in a political party or probably in an NGO or on whatever public place. So this is one of the articles that need to be reviewed. The problem really that the government in this critical time had issued that law unilaterally without getting back to the civil society, to the political parties, to the partners, I mean, who really, or to the stakeholders, who really would give some advice, who would really give some help in making a consensus about such an important law. It's
in
really
what way
important.
can we reach consensus, Mr. Aziz Al-Arab?
Let me first comment on my distinguished friend's remarks.
Right.
I will tell you what the law of protestation or the demonstration law in America is like. You are not allowed to demonstrate near public buildings, near hospitals, near schools, near any place that you are to ask for permission 6 days ahead. You are not to camp. And if the demonstration needs 2 nights or 3 days, you have to cut it at 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
In certain countries also they are sticking only to the platforms, for instance.
Of course, and areas, restricted
Certain areas that has been decided previously.
And that's where, in the land of the free, take France, the land of the revolution, the police has the full right to shoot, to kill, if demonstrators resort to any type of violence. And that's a very wide range. In the land of the Magna Carta in London, just look at the articles and you'll see that our law is very lenient. And what are we facing? We are not facing demonstrators, we are facing criminals. If you look what have been going on. Killing police officers, killing citizens, burning buildings, destroying schools, crushing into the universities to prevent students to make their exams. And this you call peaceful demonstration. I cannot play with texts and say that this might be abused. I'm looking at a fact. The country is being torn to pieces by gangs that are paid billions of dollars. Billions. Using Turkey as the mad Sultan thinks he will be the next Khalifa, using the agents in...
Anyhow, we shouldn't, permit any sense of abuse. Mr. Farid, talking about the law was a popular demand for the people. As Mr. Aziz Al-Arab said, that there were acts of sabotage. We need a definition of what is meant by peaceful protests.
Definitely. First of all, do we need a protest law? Yes, we do need a protest law. The other question, is this the right law for the right time, for the right purpose? No, it is not, frankly speaking. The whole thing that, yes, we need a law to organize the protesting, to organize the sit-ins, but not with such a way. There is a huge difference between a peaceful demonstration that goes on the street and march and having its peaceful slogans And the other one that, as Mr. Ahmed have been saying, that do torture and sabotaging and destroy the state. There is no comparison between these and that. If you are acting, if you are having an aggression against a public property or a private property, then they must be stopped. This is